If you'll recall from yesterday, Johnson is in France, and these are his notes for probably. He was probably going to do something with them at some point, but he never did. So these are kind of his little notes about what's going on in France on his trip, which he doesn't particularly seem to like. October 18th, Wednesday. We went to Fontainebleau, which we found a large mean town crowded with people. The forest thick with woods, very extensive. Minucci secured us lodging. The appearance of the country pleasant. No hills, few streams, only one hedge. I remember no chapels nor crosses on the road. Pavement still, and rows of trees. Note: nobody but mean people walk in Paris. October 19th, Thursday. At court we saw the apartments. The king's bedchamber and council chamber extremely splendid. Persons of all ranks in the external rooms through which the family passes. Oops. Sorry. Servants and masters, brunette with us the second time. The introducer came to us, civil to me, presenting. I had scruples. Not necessary. We went and saw the king and queen at dinner. We saw the other ladies at dinner, Madame Elizabeth and the Princess of Germany. G-U-I-M-E-N-E. At night we went to a comedy. I neither saw nor heard. Drunken woman. Mrs. Th preferred one to the other. October 20th, Friday. We saw the Queen's mount in the forest. Brown habit, rode aside. One lady rode aside. The Queen's horse, light gray, martingale. She galloped. We then went to the apartments and admired them. Then wandered through the palace, in the passages, stalls, and shops, painting in fresco by a great master worn out. We saw the king's horses and dogs, the dogs almost all English, degenerate. The horses not much commended. The stables cool, the kennel filthy. At night the ladies went to the opera. I refused, but should have been welcome. The king fed himself with his left hand as we. I'll read that again. The king fed himself with his left hand as we. Is he just saying the king is left-handed? Is that what's going on there? Saturday, 21st. In the night I got drowned. We came home to Paris. I think we did not see the chapel. Tree broken by the wind. The French chairs made all of boards painted. These are like haikus, some of them. Note: soldiers at the court of justice. Soldiers not amendable to the magistrates. Dijon woman. It says see page 647. And you know what? I'm just bored enough that I will see page 647 to see what Dijon woman has to do with anything. Dijon woman. What was going on with Dijon woman? At Dijon, he could not find the way to Orleans. Crossroads of France. Very fun. Oh, okay, so Dijon woman is referencing back to the story from the same trip where some guy, I forget whose name now. Oh, Captain Irwin was talking about going to Dijon. So, either now Johnson is remembering that, or is just, or he's met some Dijon woman and he's comparing them. I don't know, but that's what that reference is. Anyway, faggots in the palace. Everything slovenly except in chief rooms. Trees in the roads, some tall, none old, many very young and small. Women's saddles seem ill-made. Queen's bridle woven with silver. Tags to strike the horse. Sunday, October 22nd. To Versailles, a mean town. Carriages of business passing. Does means mean something else back then than what it does now? I'll have to consult Johnson's own dictionary to see if it means the same thing. Mean shops against the wall. One way lay through Sèvres, S-E-V-E, or also spelled S-E-V-R-E in the original manuscript, where the China manufacture. Wooden bridge at Sèvres, in the way to Versailles. The palace of great extent. The front long, I saw it not perfectly. The menagerie. Cygnets dark, their black feet, on the ground tame. Halicans or gulls. Stag and hind young. Aviary very large. The net wire. Black stag of China small. Rhinoceros, the horn broken and pared away, which I suppose will grow. The base is, I think, 4 inches cross. The skin folds like loose cloth, doubled over his body and cross his hips. A vast animal, though young, as big perhaps as 4 oxen. The young elephant, with his tusks just appearing. The brown bear put out his paws, all very tame. The lion, the tigers I did not well view. The camel, or dromedary, with 2 bunches called the hungun. Footnote here says the epithet should be applied to this animal with 1 hunch. With 1 bunch. They're calling it bunch. Taller than any horse. 2 camels with 1 bunch. Among the birds was a pelican, who, being let out, went to a fountain and swam about to catch fish. His feet well webbed, he dipped his head and turned his long bill sidewise. He caught 2 or 3 fish, but did not eat them. Trianon is a kind of retreat appendant to Versailles. It has an open portico, the pavement and, I think, the pillars of marble. There are many rooms which I do not distinctly remember. Table of porphyry, about 5 feet long and between 2 and 3 broad, given to Louis XIV by the Venetian state. In the council room, almost all the time, all that was not door or window was, I think, looking glass. Little Trianon is a small palace like a gentleman's house. The upper floor paved with brick. Little Vienne. The courts is ill paved. The rooms at the top are small, fit to soothe the imagination with privacy. In the front of Versailles are small basins of water on the terrace, and other basins, I think, below them. There are little courts. The great gallery is wainscoted with mirrors, not very large, but joined by frames. That reminds me, wainscoted is something I want to look up. I suppose the large plates were not yet made. The playhouse was very large. The chapel I do not remember if we saw. We saw 1 chapel, but I am not certain whether there or at Trianon. The foreign office paved with bricks. The dinner half a Louis each, and I think a Louis silver. Oh, so this is their So before it's clicking now. So before I was saying their currency was an L, and I didn't know what that was, and apparently it's named after the king because he's referring to how much he paid. So L-O-U-I-S, but it's also spelled in the original manuscript L-E-W-I-S. So that was the currency back then in France. Money given at menagerie, 3 livres. At palace, 6 livres. Oh, well, then we also have that. So there's Louis and livres, L-I-V-R-E-S. So sounds like livres are smaller than Louis. I'll have to look this up. I forgot last time. Okay. Oh, this is a long day. October 23, Monday. Last night I wrote to Levitt. We went to see the looking-glasses wrought. They came from Normandy in cast plates, perhaps the third of an inch thick. At Paris they are ground upon a marble table by rubbing one plate on another with grit between them. The various sands, of which there are said to be 5, I could not learn. The handle by which the upper glass is moved has the form of a wheel, which may be moved in all directions. The plates are sent up with their surfaces ground, but not polished, and so continue till they are bespoken, lest time should spoil the surface, as we were told. Those that are to be polished are laid on a table, covered with several thick cloths, hard-strained, that the resistance may be equal. They are then rubbed with a hand-rubber, held down hard by a contrivance which I did not well understand. The powder which is used last seemed to me to be iron dissolved in aqua fortis. They called it, as Baretti said, Marc de la Fleur Forte, or Mar de la Fleur de Forte. I'm just going to spell it for you. M-A-R-C or M-A-R-L-E-A-U-F-O-R-T-E. Which he thought was dregs. They mentioned vitriol and saltpeter. The cannon balls swam in the quicksilver. To silver them, a leaf of beaten tin is laid and rubbed with quicksilver, to which it unites. Then more quicksilver is poured upon it, which by this its mutual attraction rises very high. Then a paper is laid at the nearest end of the plate, over which the glass is slighted till it lies upon the plate, having driven much of its quicksilver before it. It is then, I think, pressed upon cloths and then set sloping to drop the superfluous mercury. The slope is daily heightened towards a perpendicular. In the way I saw the Greve, the mayor's house, and the Bastille. We then went to Sans-Terre, a brewer. He brews with about as much malt as Mr. Thrale, and sells his beer at the same price, though he pays no duty for malt, and little more than half as much for beer. Beer is sold retail at 6p a bottle. He brews 4,000 barrels a year. There are 17 brewers in Paris, of whom none is supposed to brew more than he. Reckoning them at 3,000 each, they make 51,000 a year. They make their malt, for malting is here no trade. The moat of the Bastille is dry. October 24th, Tuesday. We visited the King's Library. I saw the Speculum Humanae Salvationis, rudely printed, with ink, sometimes pale, sometimes black, parts supposed to be with wooden types and parts with pages cut on boards. The Bible, supposed to be older than that of Mintz, is 62, that's 1462. It has no date. It is supposed to have been printed with wooden types. I am in doubt. The print is large and fair, in 2 folios. Another book was shown me, supposed to have been printed with wooden types. I think Durande's Sanctuarium in 58, that's 1458. This is inferred from the difference of form sometimes seen in the same letter, which might be struck with different puncheons. The regular similitude of most letters proves better than they are metal. I saw nothing but the speculum, which I had not seen, I think, before. Thence to the Sorbonne. The library very large, not in lattices like the King's. Marbonne, or Martine, and Durandi, or Durans, collection, 14 volumes. Scriptures de Rebus Gallicus, many folios. Histoire généalogique of France, 9 volumes. Gallia Christiana, the first edition, 4-2. The last folio, 12 volumes. The prior and librarian dined with us. I waited on them home. Their garden pretty, with covered walks, but small, yet may hold many students. The doctors of the Sorbonne are all equal. Choose those who succeed to vacancies. Profit little. Okay. I hope I didn't miss anything there. I don't think I did. October 25th, Wednesday. I went with the prior to St. Cloud to see Dr. Hook and the medicine. Sorry. We walked around the palace and had some talk. I dined with our whole company at the monastery. In the library, berolled Simon Titus from Boccaccio, Oratio Proverbialis to the Virgin from Petrarch, Falkland to Sunday's, Dryden's preface to the third volume of Miscellanies. Footnote here. He means, I suppose, that he read these different pieces while he remained in the library. October 26th, Thursday. We saw the china at Sèvres, cut, glazed, painted. Bellevue, a pleasing house, not great, fine prospect. Meudon, an old palace. Alexander in porphyry, hollow between eyes and nose, thin cheeks. Plato and Aristotle, noble terrace overlooks the town. St. Cloud, gallery not very high, narrow, grand, but pleasing. In the rooms, Michelangelo, spelled here Michael blank Angelo, that's interesting. Drawn by himself, Sir Thomas More. Descartes, Bochart, Nudius, Mazarin. Gilded wainscot, so common that it is not minded. Go and Keene. Hook came to us at the inn, a message from Drumgold. On October 27th, Friday, I stayed at home. Go and Keene and Mrs. S. Footnote here says this is Mrs. Strickland and Captain Kilpatrick, Croker and Tyson and Guppy. Friends dined with us. Friend dined with us. So that's Captain Kilpatrick, I guess. This day we began to have a fire. The weather has grown very cold and I fear has a bad effect upon my breath, which has grown much more free and easy in this country. Saturday, October 28th, I visited the Grand Chartreux, or Chartreuse, built by St. Louis. It is built for 40, but contains only 24, and will not maintain more. The friar that spoke to us had a pretty apartment. Mr. Baretti says 4 rooms. I remember but 3. His books seemed to be French. His garden was neat. He gave me grapes. We saw the Place de Victoire with the statues of the king and the captive nations. We saw the palace and gardens of Luxembourg, but the gallery was shut. We climbed to the top stairs. I dined with Colebrook, who had much company. Foote, Sir George Rodney, Monteau, Udson, Taff. Called on the prior and found him in bed. Hotel, a guinea a day. Coach, 3 guineas a week. Valet de place, 3 L a day. Aventure, a guinea a week. Ordinary dinner, 6 L a head. Our ordinary seems to be about 5 guineas a day. Our extraordinary expenses, as diversions, gratuities, clothes, I cannot reckon. Our traveling is 10 guineas a day. White stockings, 18L. Wig, hat. How much more of this? Well, I'll just read the last paragraph for this day. Sunday, October 29th. We saw the boarding school. The Enfants Troves. A room with about 86 children and cradles, as sweet as a parlor. They lose a third. Take in 2, perhaps more than 7 years old. Put them to trades. Pin to them the papers sent with them. Want nurses. Saw their chapel. Went to St. Eustatia. Saw an innumerable company of girls catechized in many bodies, perhaps 100 to a catechist. Catechist? Boys taught at one time, girls at another. The sermon, the preacher wears a cap, which he takes off at the name. His action uniform, not very violent. All right, I'm just going to see how much... Okay, well, we got 2 more days of, 2 more pages of his diary, and then we're back to Boswell talking about life at Johnson. So until next time, bye from Johnson and bye from Boswell.